Voila. So go continue. You were saying.
I'm just trying to remember where we were up to.
You were saying that the fact
This
that
epidemic
yes,
with
epidemic.
women, with younger women 30 years, more than 30 years younger than me, in their 30s, when you're supposed to be the most virile, the most fertile, and they're having problems falling pregnant. Now, why? And I asked myself why. Several reasons, but the most common for me is we're not eating properly. We're not eating real food. We're not drinking proper water. We're not breathing proper air. Where it was in my mother's time, where, I mean, in mum's time, they had real seeds, they had real plants. She's 92, just to give a perspective. She had real food. And then she made a garden so that we had real food, and it was real food. In New Zealand, land was fertile, seeds were proper seeds. She brought them back from London, so she planted her fruit trees in Auckland in her home, and we grew up with fresh vegetables, and we were poor, so we were lucky to get. I don't think we ever got meat ever. We might have got a little bit of chicken because she's a nice Jewish woman. She's a nice Jewish mama, so she's going to make a chicken soup. But we were really used the whole chicken, everything, and fish. And fish used to be just the head of the fish because it was the cheapest. And she would steam it or she would cook it, and we got to eat the eyes out of it because that's where a lot of the goodness was. But everything, and that was real fish. It wasn't polluted fish. So it was local fish, et cetera, et cetera. And proper fruit. We had real fruit. So I think one of the things that is stopping women, younger women, is the type of food that we're eating, the type of air that we're eating, the air that we're breathing, and the water that we're drinking. We're so intent, or the women, younger women and younger men are so intent in creating money. Money has just sideswiped all of this. So when a woman gets to the stage, whether she wants to have a child by herself or she has a partner or whatever, when they're ready to do this in their early 30s, they're unable to because they haven't backed it up with the proper nutrition on all those areas, the emotional, spiritual, cultural, et cetera, et cetera. And really, half their brain, because I hear it all the time in the yoga studios. I hear it like, okay, so I'll be home, I'll breastfeed the baby for 3 months or maybe a month, and then, it'll be off to either a nanny comes in or it's off to a nursery of some sort. What is that? And where's the extended family? Where are the parents that are coming in? No, because the disconnection. And I'm not saying all. I'm just looking at this round picture. I'm listening to women who are saying that they want to freeze their eggs and they're in their mid-30s. And I'm saying, why? And they said, because just in case I don't have any eggs when I find a partner. Holy fuck, what is that? I don't know. I just, you were talking about falling in love, or you were talking about wanting a person in your life, being with a person, but wanting a person, not needing that person. I think that also needs to be unpacked with the partners that you have in your life. I'm not saying that, all people have difficulty in getting pregnant. I just think that maybe I've been listening. There are far more cases coming up. I'm a doula, so there are far more cases.
This is more in the West, darling. In our countries,
Yes.
it's not too much.
Yes,
because
okay.
of the West.
And I meant the West. Sorry, I beg your pardon. I meant the West.
Because in Africa there is a boom in natality. Africa is doing much better than ever than before.
Amazing.
Yeah, and you have also the Middle East. So actually, it's more about the West. The West is decreasing because the West has been poisoning itself. So it's different. The food, everything was, GMOs and everywhere, the water and all. So
the pressure, the fucking pressure that everyone's going, government ruling and this and that, and
Yeah.
you've got to pay your fines and you've got to do this and there's tax here. And it's like, what the hell? I'd have a heart attack just reading that stuff, let alone having to do it, which is what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
You know, the level of stress that people, why do you think men are having heart attacks in their early 40s?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
or if they're impotent.
Yeah.
Hello? Who
Yeah,
the hell
because
wants to get it up when you don't feel like it? And women.
Instead of living, you find yourself surviving.
Correct.
You're talking about survival.
Fight and flight. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Instead of
So maybe we should go back to the 60s, smoke some pot. I can't because it's not good for me. But, you know, just, yo, brothers and sisters, let's groove.
Well, the thing is, we're talking about money. It
I
doesn't
don't
make money
know.
to smoke pot. You cannot make money if you smoke pot. And the goal is to, when they say, you know, the goal is that you do in everything that you make a comfortable living, you know. And that's the thing. People want it or not. We would have loved as humanity to have everything for free, you know, or to just have like a exchange system. But what I say often is that this money system was created in a certain time. We were not alive, and it was decided for us. Now we are following that because there are different ways of I mean, managing a society.
Absolutely.
Beside the way like the capitalism we are falling into right now. What I would like to actually ask you about is, what do you think, as you were actually touched a very important point, what is the difference between the you know, when you were 20 years old, like how do you remember the times, and how are you seeing the 20 years old right now today? How, like, for you it's a big contrast, I guess. Like, you really, like, even
Huge.
me with my young age, I still feel it with the 20 years old. Like, I still see how different I am from them. So I
Hey,
cannot even
buddy,
imagine
I'm not that old, okay? I'm not that old.
you're yeah, you're not that old. I agree. You're not even double my age, so that's good. So just tell me, how does it feel for someone like you, like to see that big change, you know?
I will just say that when I was 20, 21, I think life was way more open, much bigger. Opportunity was more available. Conversation was more available. Walking somewhere and discovering, how can I explain it? I always had an adventure in my 20s, always just walking around Sydney, always. There was music getting played, there were dancers performing, there was theatre, there were buskers, there were prostitutes on the corners in King's Cross, there were drug addicts. It was like fucking life. It vibrated. It was like Israel in the mid-70s. It was like New York. It was like this vibrating ethos of kinetic energy. It was so cool. But there was such a freedom. We were not politically correct. We said shit. And if you didn't like it, you just said, I don't like that. And it's like, well, okay, I'm sorry if that hurt your feeling, but this is how I feel. We just had honest talk. It wasn't, people didn't hide behind certain things. They didn't hide behind, oh, you know, I think whatever. I can't even think of an example. I just felt less stress and more freedom to express who you were. And we didn't fucking follow. Everyone was an individual. Everyone had their weirdness, and everyone went, yeah, you know, Julia's really wacko. She's really weird. She doesn't smoke, but she's crazier than someone who smokes pot. And that was it. That was me being embraced by my friends. You know, you got accepted way more. You didn't have to follow a pattern. You didn't. If someone was, you know, was planning to be a CEO of a company, they still sat next to someone who wanted to smoke pot. There wasn't a class system to that degree that there is now. You have to go, and now everyone goes to the same private school. And I'm talking about Sydney and the eastern suburbs, all right? Excuse me, but that's where I'm coming from. So and it's the people that know people that know people that know people, and that's how it works now. And I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm not saying that they're wrong people and they're bad people at all. It was just a different system. And saying more opportunity is that you could fall in the cracks, and what fun that was. I mean, I just used to have so much fun going from this type of person to that type of person or crowd, or to this type of person or to that. You were always accepted. And I think and now there are rules. You don't get accepted the same way. People are way more cautious. People are they're older and wiser, but I don't know, that free spirit doesn't seem to be there anymore.
We come back to, okay, let's say hello to our audience first. We start.
Hi.
Hello,
Hi,
everyone. Today is Julia. Like usual, it's her page. So I guess, yeah, I'm talking to her and helping her to share with you her wisdom, guys. She's new to this. She wants to introduce herself to you guys in a different ways. And today we decided to talk about a very interesting topic, which is loss and recovery.
Loss and recovery, correct. Loss and recovery. We're talking about loss and recovery in love.
In love.
So we're talking about losing a loved one, and that is a whole gamut of topics in itself. I'm referring to a love match. I'm referring to a relationship. I'm not referring to a death in the family or a passing. I'm talking specific, but in a way it is, because when love has been forfeited, when two people decide or one person decides to not be with the other person, that is a loss, and that is a death of some sort of the two, and then it's an individual thing. So loss is the topic that I find very revealing about how we cope. And cope may not be the right word, but it is the right word for me at the moment. What do you do in the process? How do you move forward after losing the love of your life in a relationship?
Please tell me.
And again, it's a lot of different, there's a lot of different pages, because we're individuals, because we have different methods, because of whatever we've been brought up with, whatever we are in the moment. There's a lot of different ways, a lot of different windows to look through. I would like to use I would like to say that loss seems to be equal to being absolutely gutted, because normality has been, and I relate to this for myself, and also for other women in particular, and men that I've met, who talk about relationships and moving on to an extent, but the loss. Gutted because you're not together anymore, and you're gutted because all of a sudden you become yourself. All of a sudden you're alone. All of a sudden everything you did, and this is just habitual stuff. This is like getting out of bed in the morning. This is like saying goodnight. This is like brushing your teeth. These are all the habitual things that you did with someone over a period of time. But it's also the physical, like inside, the emotional, physical side of feeling your heart getting ripped, broken, shattered, thrown over, vomited on, pooped on, weed on, whatever it may be. And I think that kind of loss is just breathtakingly, painstakingly painful. Painstakingly painful, yes. It's severe.
Tell me, why do you think it's that painful? Like me personally, I don't believe in loss anymore. For me, even when it appears that I'm losing, for me, I know I'm winning. And life always proved me that I was actually winning. I was never losing. To be honest with you, many times I thought that I was losing, but then I ended up actually winning. So
Good
beside that,
question.
beside that, I'm coming to the question.
Yes, yes, yes.
Like when you talk about that feeling of being completely, having your heart completely shattered in thousand pieces, uh, what is exactly provoking that feeling?
Good question. So there are a number of things, because now I'm a different person to where I was 9 months ago. Now I'm a completely different human being because now I've fallen back in love with Julia. So now I understand who I am. I'm starting to gather, my stuff is coming up and I'm embracing that. When I was in a partnership, I didn't embrace that. I lost that. I forgot who I was. And that's the difference with you. You remembered who you were all the way through, all the way through. I don't know if this is a female thing or a male thing or a generation thing. No, I'm just saying, I don't know. But I know that in circumstances, even if you have and one couple I'm thinking about, a girlfriend of mine, and that she was in a very long relationship, in a marriage. She had a very successful business. She was completely devastated with the betrayal of her husband, not having the conversation. And that's what I was talking to you about before. The betrayal is the biggest rip your heart out. I think I could have handled a conversation if my partner had said, I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I don't want to do this anymore. For sure, I would have been unhappy. For sure, I would have been pissed off. For sure, I would have tried to have made it work with bringing someone else in for us to talk about it. But I think I would have absolutely respected his choice because it was up front.
So,
and that I think, sorry.
I need to cut you because when you go out a little bit from the topic, guys,
Yep.
Julia has a lot of things to say. And I am here to monitor her. I'm here to tell her what to do, how to do, because she can, go very deep into stuff. And because I want to make it pleasant for you guys, and she wants to, but I'm a more professional than her. She's learning. So that's why I need to cut her, not because we are not understanding each other. It's because it's professional. Okay, so just don't start saying I cut her too much, and don't start saying she talks too much. She's a beginner. I'm here to bring her back to the topic. So Julia, every
Yes.
time, so I want to cut you because it's very interesting. I want to emphasize this point. You talking about you, literally coming back into yourself, into Julia, 9 months ago, in 9 months, let's say the last 9 months. And I mean, you are not young. So are you, what I want is our audience to understand, are you saying that sometimes it takes very long time to come back to yourself, or you lose yourself on the way? So you know already who you are, and then you lose yourself, and then you come back to yourself. Is this what you're talking about?
I would love to generalize and say, yes, you're right.
No, it's
The
a
latter.
question. It's a question.
Yeah, I know. I would like to say that it's the latter. For me, I forgot who I was. I forgot being in a relationship because I put my energy into the relationship, not into myself. I forgot to grow. I had certain talents, I had certain expertise when I was younger, but that went to the bias. And I'm not saying I didn't use any of that. I'm sure I did in one way, but I forgot. So now, just because evolution is the way it is, all of this stuff is coming up. All of this stuff is coming up.
Why?
Which is, for instance, I used to act. I used to sing. I used to dance. I was a choreographer. I used to, be silly. Well, being silly, I'm always being silly. But at the end of the day, I think that it's just, I think you find what is meant to be yours is yours. And that comes back to you when you're in that right space. I feel like I've got my equilibrium. I like me. I like being me. I love being me. And I'm just finding out more and more and more about me. It doesn't mean that I'm divorcing myself from the rest of my family or my world or my animals or my life. But so am I answering the question that you've asked?
Well, yes, but there is another point that I want you to come back into, because I want people to understand that sometimes, again, because you're not that young. So what I'm thinking about is those young girls, 25, 26, 30, 35, that think that they have lost themselves and it's too late. What I mean is that
Okay.
you are the living proof that it's never too late.
Okay. It is never too late. You are never too old, ever. And you can change shit in the moment on your heel. Every moment is your choice to change. Every moment is your moment to bring a miracle into your life. That is for sure. That's something I've lived with all of my life, for sure. When it's supposed to go south and you go, no, it's not going to go south, it's going to go north. That's something that you choose. So don't, for me, it's don't despair. And I make sure, I try when I hear conversations and girls are like talking about it, they're going north, they're going down. And I'm like, why the hell are you talking that shit? Why are you even thinking that you can't be better than where you were? Who told you that? So for me, it's like stirring the pot, but it's also bringing a brand of humor as well. It's like, what, you're going to let them? Sorry.
No, it's okay. Because I want to bring you back always to the track. But why do you think they are like this? Why do you think those women, like you, as a women who has a lot of experience in this life, why do you think that these women are triggered that way? Why? Family,
Because they
society?
follow. Everyone is a pack. So I told you the difference is that like before we were like in my time, everyone was an individual. You didn't follow. You had your own shit going. You created your own stuff. You loved doing that. You did not want to join anyone else's gang. You were your own gang. Whereas now it's all in numbers. Everyone has to cluster together. For me, it's like the opinion of someone else is more important than yours. What the fuck? And that's the difference now. I'm hearing more about a pack of girlfriends making up their mind for their girlfriend who's suffering. There's no common sense. Like they're not even inquiring. They're just telling her what to do, how to perform. For me, that doesn't make sense. How are you going to learn? There's a reason this happened. How and why and what are you going to learn out of it?
Yeah.
So I think they just want to be still part of the pack. And if they think for themselves or they change the dialogue.
What is the pack? Who's the pack? That's what I'm talking about. Like, are you talking about society? Are you talking about family? Are you talking about the system itself? What are you exactly? Who is triggering?
Well, that's a whole tier. That's a Christmas tree of stuff. All right. So that's genuinely and generally what happens. The people around that person, I'm sure not all of them are evil by all means. I'm sure that, people are just trying to protect. But sometimes you need some tough love. Instead of saying, like, you're going to be okay, it's like, well, no, unless you change your mental state, you're not going to be okay because you're going to keep repeating the same mistakes. Whack yourself in the head, go towards that wall. If you start bleeding, have you learned something? Are you going to go back into that wall or are you going to turn around and go into the field? It's up to you, but I don't think people actually offer that suggestion. You can't say, don't feel like that, you're worth more. No, you have to feel that. You have to sit in that pain and learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And then when it rises, when the pain comes out and the feeling has come out, guess what? You can move forward because that trauma has been released. But I just think it's better to heal with good words as opposed to evil words, as in negative. Call me old-fashioned, honey, but, if I can laugh at a joke and if I can, see something funny in the moment, that's worth more for me. And also for the other person to make fun of, just to make it light. Yeah. Because when you're lighter, the heart gets bigger.
That's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. I want to ask a question about always about the theme that we are on, loss and recovery. Uh, how do you come back to yourself, Julia, after a loss, after all that pain, after all that despair moments and crying nights? How do you come back to yourself? What helped you personally? And then we can go more generic, but let's start by what helped you to move on. And
Time. I mean, what I've done in the last 9 months has been incredible because, okay, so yes, I was thrown into an ending of a long-term relationship over 3 decades, and it was very abrupt. And then I was thrust into a work situation with businesses, and I just basically I put my head down, and I had to move house, and then my family were suffering because they're not well. And basically, I put my head down and went, it doesn't matter what's going to happen. You're not going to feel anything. You're just going to keep going. You're going to keep going until September the 1st or September the 30th. And then you can go to Bali and you cry your heart out for 4 weeks because Bali is always warm. And I've got friends there and I just wanted to purge there. Not that that was it, but that was going to be the start. But I just had this game plan. And of course, that with game plans, it never happened like that. I just, I would be talking in business meetings and saying, I really understand. We're so, and people were so generous. They were so kind. Even though a lot of them didn't know my story, they were just, oh, can I give you some tissues? Are you okay? Do you want to stop for 5 minutes? So I found other people's kindness really extraordinary when I was not feeling on top of things, not eating, not sleeping. I didn't sleep. I slept 2 to 3 hours every night. I was not in good shape. And I had plenty of friends saying everything's going to be fine. And I kept on going, no, it's not. You're going to fucking, no, it's not. Like I was just going insane. How can you say I'm going to be fine? I'm not going to be fine. My heart is out. Like this is so much. I've got so much worry. So am I answering your question? Yeah.
Now let's go more generic. Like what would you advise people?
Time. And nothing is right and nothing is wrong. But I think the most important thing is to know that you have gone through bigger stuff. Somewhere in your life, you can pull up an experience that shows you that you can get through this. And if you don't, then find someone else's story that inspires you. Because at the end of the day, there are so many people that are worse off than us. So many. And there's no gratitude in our life when we feel like shit. And we should be grateful. We should actually have that gratitude, because no matter how bad everything was for me and how I felt choked, I knew I had a clean bed to come back to. I knew that my son was here. I knew that my animals were here. I knew that I had a small base of friends. I'm so blessed. So sometimes you just need one thing. You need that plant in the corner of your room to just be there for you. We need to be needed in that sense when there's pain for us. And remember, there are just worse off people than us. And that's not to make us feel better because there's worse off, but look at how people are so grateful for the little that they get in their lives. So that kindness has been a great message, I guess, to me in the times that I needed to be reminded how blessed I am, how fortunate I am, regardless of my emotional turmoil and my mental capacity.
Yeah. That's interesting. Tell me, is it what if okay, you have that pain. Sometimes that pain is provoked by the fact that we want to possess that person. We thought that person was ours. We're talking about
We would
Yeah, the concept of being with someone to possess them. Don't you think that sometimes that pain can come because we thought that we literally owned that person, and then life came to us and told us, well, no, actually, you don't know anybody, you don't own anybody. And that person that you spent 20, 30, 10 years with is leaving you because I want you to understand that in life, nothing is guaranteed. Don't you think
I
that?
think you're absolutely look, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that in all honesty, I think that's exactly what I did. I think I tried to possess my ex. I think I thought being fused together, married together, that we were linked, absolutely linked. We belonged to each other. I belonged to him, he belonged to me. And that's not the way it is. It's you can have ideals, you can have a mannerism, you can have a manner in which you're living together and on the same path, but you don't own anyone. You don't, you don't own anyone. That was a huge lesson for me as well. Like I said, I'm not perfect, and I've learned so much over the 9 months or 10 months because I've been separate. I'm not with anyone. And that has given me back to me. And I've seen the things that I did wrong. Nothing is one-sided. I'm not saying that he was, he was wrong. He was wrong in some things, and I was definitely wrong in some things. Again, and I'm not making excuses. My perception, my concept of marriage was very incorrect to what I understand now. And that is a whole different other subject, I think, because, yeah, for me, it's a totally different subject. I understand human nature more, and I'm understanding myself more. And I want to be just a little bit kind to all the parties involved, and that is, it is never one person's fault. It's never one person's fault. It means that, the synergy between two people has to be going in the same path. And if you do veer off, if you don't, if that isn't out of your peripheral vision, then that's what will happen. You'll go into two different directions. But maybe that's the journey. I don't want to be bitter. I don't want to be angry. I get angry and I do get bitter, but I'm getting less and less because I'm understanding more of myself and the reasons why I chose this, as in chose the marriage, and then also the separation.
Yeah, choose
And now
everything that came with.
divorce.
Yeah, choose
Yeah.
everything that came with. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You're taking into consideration the fact that you somewhere choose this moment you're going through by taking the decision of being with that man. So that's the thing. That was my actually next question. The kind of inner work that it asks, you know, what does it look like? Like, what is it like? How did you conclude to these things? Were you aware of those things the moment you started the separation, or did it come after a certain period? Okay, can you tell us more?
Brutal honesty. If you're honest to yourself, really brutally honest. Okay. First of all, I'm kinesthetic. So everything I go through, I have to feel. Once the waves of sadness, the waves of anguish, the waves, and it still comes. It still comes after this time. And I think I've been let off easy after 3 decades of being with someone, that I'm coming to this conclusion now. But I think it's also because I'm older, because I have more wisdom, because I've had reflection and I can see other people, and I've learned shit along the way, even though I didn't think I was, but she's on there. So I think it's brutal honesty. When you can talk to yourself, when you're honest to yourself, that's it. Then you're honest about whatever situation you put yourself in. It's not a right, it's not a wrong, it's just being honest. Then the repercussions of your action will foretold the future, the present and the future. That's it. And if you want to change that, then change the behavior of that moment. But I just, I mean, that gets a little bit technical for me as well. It's really, I just feel that I forgot what we were talking about.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Let me call you back. And this is the first recording. Guys, we are coming back. Okay. We're coming
We're
back.
coming back.
We're coming back. Yeah. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Again, sorry for that cut. We are using a free version of Zoom. That's why it stops recording. Anyway, so you were talking about
We were talking about loss. We were talking about time.
yeah,
So
no,
your
the
question
last
to me
thing.
was about
The last thing, as I said, yeah, what you were sharing what you have learned from this and the inner work that it asks and the fact that you have to be, raw and harshly
truthful.
hardly truthful toward yourself. What I wanted to know is what kind of inner work it asks, like what kind of thing you should, like you would advise the people, mostly women who are looking at us, what kind of things you do to pick yourself up again, and get back on the track.
I actually, look, one of the things I did was walk. I just walked and I walked and I walked. And if I had the opportunity to walk in nature, I would do that. So I was very fortunate. We lived in Maroubra and I could walk all the way around Malabar, the big point. So that was at least an hour and a half. I would do that twice a day, in the morning and at night. And it is a lot of time. I'm sorry, that's Loki barking in the back there.
No problem.
Uh, but I just found with the pace that I walked and I would be breathing, breathing in fresh air. And I'm laughing because I used to cry all the time, just tears coming down. I had a hat on, a cap on, I had glasses on, I had tissues in my hand, I had my little satchel. I was with the dog Loki, and we would be walking, and I'd just be thinking of things, and it would be coming up in my chest, and then I'd just start weeping. And people, we're kind of friendly around here at this side of the world. And people would say, "Good morning," and I'd be, it was one time this lady, she was a complete stranger. I'd never seen her before. And I was crying, like tears coming down. And I smiled at her
Alan,
because
your
I'd
sound
forgotten I
changed.
was.
Your sound, not hearing you properly.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
It suddenly went down the
Oh,
volume.
oh. So yeah,
No, better.
better.
Yes.
So one of the things that happened was that I was walking and I got so used to crying and walking and still moving because I was enjoying it, but it was just this release, and I was just crying and crying. And there was a lady coming towards me, and she just looked at me, and I said, "Good morning." As the tears are coming down my face, and she stopped me and she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yes, I'm fine, thank you." And she said, "Do you need a hug?" And I looked at her and I thought, "Are you a space cadet?" I looked at her from the top to bottom. I said, "Yes, of course I need a hug." And she gave a complete stranger. Her dog was there, my dog was there, and she just gave me this huge hug. And she was rubbing my back, and I was just bawling. Like it all came up. I was bawling and bawling. And then I pulled away from her, like her t-shirt was all saturated from my tears. And I said to her, "I really thank you. I really, really, really needed that." And she said, "Yes, I could tell that you needed that." She said, "Anytime you want to cry and you need a hug," she said, "I come past here 7:30 every morning." I said, "I will make note." And she introduced herself and she said, told me where she lived even. She said, "If you're just going past, knock on the door. If you just want to say hello, have a cup of tea." And as she walked, I said, "Thank you very much." And as she walked away, I was thinking to myself, how freaking lucky am I? How lucky am I to meet a stranger that had so much kindness to make me feel better for at least 5 more minutes before I started crying again and continued on my way. I just thought, how nice, how wonderful, how extraordinary that someone's kindness can shift you. So whether it's your own kindness in yourself to shift where you are, the mental state that you are, or that you're blessed enough to get someone else in your life that hugs you when you need to get hugged. I just feel that you're going to get through this because, like I said before, you've come through bigger things. You'll find that you've come through bigger things. It's a process. There's no rushing. It's not a slow thing. It's not a fast thing. It's your process. Be kind. That's the only thing I can say. Be kind.
To whom? To yourself? To others?
Yes, to yourself. To yourself.
Why
Yeah,
is
I
that-
mean, I wasn't.
Why
My
is that
poor
important?
son.
What does-
Sorry.
What does it mean? Why is that important to be kind to oneself? Why?
Because you're already suffering. You're already suffering. Why would you want to kick someone else down if they're down? That's just not good, let alone yourself. So don't feed yourself with negativity. Don't feed yourself with, oh, yeah, it's my fault, or he's an asshole, or she's an asshole, or, don't feed yourself with all the hate. Just feel it and allow it to come out. And then remember, it could always be worse. It can always be worse. I don't know. I got to find a sense of humor about anything that's, painful, because that's how I get out of it. If I see a sense of humor, if I can feel a little bit of joy, because joy is also really important. And joy's part of the healing process, any healing process, laughing about yourself. But I think that comes later. I think first off, you just got to get through those initial stages. Be kind to yourself.
The last words? Do you have any last words?
There are never any last words because I love to chat so much. So what can I say? What can I say?
Well, we need to
Don't
conclude
forget
the episode. It's getting too long already.
Okay, so to conclude the episode is to say, if you're not kind to yourself, I'm going to be kinder to you.
That's beautiful.
See you
so
later,
much.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
See you guys. And it was a pleasure.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Ciao.